The presence of aggressive cues, which will be discussed in more detail later in this chapter, also seems to moderate the effects of alcohol on aggression. Aggression-related cues highlight aggression as a behavioral option, but does this effect apply in the same way to sober and intoxicated individuals? Evidence suggests that intoxicated persons only respond to explicit, salient external cues. If these cues highlight aggression, such as aggressive behavior from a fellow participant, then an aggressive response is likely to be shown. However, if salient cues are non-aggressive, such as social pressure to set low levels of shock, then behavior becomes less aggressive. Because sober individuals can pay attention to a greater variety of situational stimuli, as well as to their personal norms, their behavior is less affected by the salience of cues. Consistent with this reasoning, Giancola and Corman 2007 showed that when intoxicated participants working on a competitive reaction time task were distracted, they showed less aggression compared with a non-distracted control group. The distraction task prevented them from paying full attention to the aggressive cues, the shock levels set by their opponent, thereby reducing their aggressive responses. Among the person characteristics that affect the link between alcohol and aggression, many of the individual difference variables examined in Chapter 4 have been shown to play a role, such as trait anger, hostile rumination, and irritability. With regard to trait anger, alcohol seems to have a greater effect as a trigger of aggressive behavior in individuals who are dispositionally anger-prone and those characterized by low levels of anger control. Similarly, individuals with high levels of dispositional aggression scored higher on alcohol-related aggression and hostility, and the link between dispositional rumination and aggression was positively correlated with self-reported patterns of alcohol consumption. Giancola 2002 found a greater effect of alcohol on aggression in individuals who scored high on irritability, but this effect was limited to the men in his sample. Another candidate for explaining individual differences in the alcohol-aggression link is weight, particularly in men. There is a stereotype of the big, drunk, aggressive guy that may be incorporated by heavier men as part of their identity, magnifying the effect of alcohol on aggression. Comparing an alcohol group and a placebo group, DeWall et al. 2010 found that alcohol was linked to higher levels of aggression in heavier men, but not in lighter men or in women. They concluded that alcohol reduced the inhibition for heavy men to throw their weight around and intimidate others by behaving aggressively. However, it should be noted that they did not control for height in their studies, so not everyone who was heavy might have been big. DeWall et al. 2010. Explanations for the alcohol-aggression link. Several theoretical assumptions have been proposed to explain how the tendency to engage in aggressive behavior is affected by alcohol consumption. Two main lines of theorizing will be briefly described here. The first approach focuses on the pharmacological effects of alcohol. It comprises several hypotheses that address different consequences of alcohol consumption. The disinhibition hypothesis claims that alcohol directly affects the center of the brain which controls aggressive behavior. According to this view, alcohol sets free aggressive impulses because it demobilizes the individual's ability to suppress and avoid aggressive tendencies. However, the finding that participants who received alcohol but were unaware of it, the anti-placebo condition of the balanced placebo design, were not found to be more aggressive than participants who neither expected nor received alcohol, the control condition, argues against the assumption of such a direct link between alcohol and aggression. The arousal hypothesis suggests that the stimulant effect of alcohol is responsible for its aggression-enhancing effect, and there is evidence that arousal is more closely linked to aggressive behavior in intoxicated than in sober individuals. Giancola et al. 1998. The second approach is concerned with the psychological mechanisms by which alcohol consumption may trigger aggressive behavior. It may be further subdivided into two explanations, referring to expectancy and myopia, respectively. The expectancy hypothesis proposes that the effects of alcohol on aggression are due at least in part to people's knowledge that they have consumed alcohol. This knowledge is associated with alcohol-related expectancies, which include cultural norms excusing or condoning aggressive behavior under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol-related expectancies, i.e., beliefs about the effects of alcohol, were shown to be important for the pharmacological effects to occur. As noted earlier, the meta-analysis by Bushman and Cooper in 1990 showed that the pharmacological effect depends on the presence of alcohol-related expectancies. Individuals who believe that alcohol causes people to engage in aggressive behavior should be more likely to engage in aggression when intoxicated than individuals who do not subscribe to this belief. This was found to be the case in several field studies, correlational studies, and laboratory experiments. Another explanation attributes the psychological effects of alcohol on aggression to the disruption of cognitive information processing. The alcohol myopia model, AMM, first introduced by Steele and Josephs 1990, suggests that alcohol has an indirect effect on aggression by reducing the attentional capacity of the individual, hampering a comprehensive appraisal of situational cues. Alcohol narrows down attention, making people short-sighted, myopic, with regard to the perception and processing of situational information. As a result, only the most salient cues present in a situation are attended to, and if these cues suggest aggressive rather than non-aggressive responses, aggressive behavior is likely to be shown. Intoxicated people pay insufficient attention to inhibitory cues that might suppress aggressive behavior. A review of the alcohol myopia model by Giancola et al. 2010 concluded that there was compelling support for the role of impaired attentional processes in explaining alcohol-related aggression. Evidence discussed earlier in this section about attention to aggressive cues as a moderator of the alcohol-aggression link is also consistent with the alcohol myopia model. This model has important implications for the prevention of alcohol-related aggression, as it involves the prediction that salient anti-violence cues present in a situation could reduce aggressive behavior. Giancola and Corman 2007 provided evidence that, when distracted so that they were unable to attend to provocation cues, intoxicated participants showed less aggressive behavior than a sober comparison group. In summary, several conclusions can be drawn from the literature on alcohol-related aggression. First, there is ample evidence that individuals show more aggressive behavior when intoxicated than when sober. This evidence comes from controlled laboratory studies, including research using the balanced placebo design, as well as from studies in a variety of real-life contexts, using both self-reports and observational methods. Meta-analytic findings suggest that the effect of alcohol is stronger on men than on women. The effect is due to both the pharmacological changes induced by alcohol and alcohol-related expectancies working together to produce the aggression-enhancing effect. Second, the link between alcohol and aggression is affected by variations in the situation, provocation, lack of self-focused attention, and the presence of aggressive cues have been identified as relevant variables accounting for differences in the effect of alcohol on aggressive responses. Third, personality variables moderate the susceptibility to aggression under the influence of alcohol. Finally, alcohol affects aggression in an indirect way. Cognitive interpretations are seen as the most promising explanations of the effects of alcohol on aggression. They emphasize that alcohol impairs a person's information processing capacities, including attention to the normative constraints that would inhibit aggressive responses in a sober state.